Guarding Your Nest Egg is the name of the radio show, Mike, that you and I do. And I guess maybe I'm a little camera shy because I prefer radio. I don't know about you, but we're doing a video
It's
podcast, my friend.
this is what it's all about these days, right? People get the majority of their information, or maybe not the majority, but increasingly over their smartphones. Not so much. We're a little old school radio, right? But
Mhm.
why
In
not?
fact,
Let's get
our
out there. Yeah.
producer told me to take down my radio on air sign. I mean, like it's that big of a deal. And this is we are
I'm gonna be honest with
on.
you. I didn't want to say anything. He was right. Yeah, because we're not on air. We're uh,
Well,
we're
we are on
on
the air.
we're on your cell phone right now, or your computer, or your laptop. So there you go.
Well, I do want to dive into the seriousness of the conversation because it's been a slow couple of days and a busy day. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like with the economic news and, President Biden now just has to sign the debt limit deal because that passed after weeks of negotiations. And you and I have been talking for a while about this. There was no doubt that eventually they would come to some
Yeah, of
sort of
course they
solution.
have to. Yeah.
So that'll happen at any moment. Unexpectedly, though, Mike, the economy added 339,000 jobs in May, but unemployment ticked up to 3.7%. So I looked at the actual numbers. Now, again, you're the fee based advisor. I'm just some schmuck that's doesn't have an on air sign.
Who doesn't have an on-air site anymore? But that's okay. Yeah.
Looking at the actual numbers, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we actually have more unemployed people, and the total number of employed people went down. So they're saying 45,000 people dropped out of the workforce for whatever reason in May. And year
Mhm.
over year wages up 4.3%, but CPI inflation went up 4.9%. All of this leaves me wondering, and our viewers, so the Fed now, are they gonna skip a month, you think, on a rate hike, or are they achieving their goal?
Well, it's very scary. So what I did is I packed my family on a plane and we
I
flew
mean,
to
seriously.
a remote island with palm trees, and this is why I'm
So
here, right? So, all jokes aside, uh, for all of our viewers, uh, first week of summer vacation when it comes to my kids are anywhere from 20 all the way to 6, and I got 4 of them. So do the math: 2 boys, 2 girls. So family vacation, first week of summer. We're in the Florida Keys. If anybody's wondering, no, we have not disappeared and gone to a country that doesn't have extradition. We're
yeah.
just hanging out in the Keys for a few days. But that being said, this is all very serious. Now, you hear we just talked about these numbers when it comes to employment versus jobs, unemployment versus jobs. We're talking about debt ceiling. Not everybody who's watching us right now knows what we do for a living. But I mean, our day job is not this, it's managing portfolios for individuals. And most of those people are either retired or close to it. So if you take a look at what they're most concerned about, it's reliable rates of return, right? So they want the highest rate of return they can get. They're just not willing to take a lot of risk to get it. And very rarely do we meet somebody who says, I just want to hang in there through a bunch of volatility. So, looking at what we do in our day jobs versus what we're doing now, I look at that and I go, yeah, this is going to be concerning. I think people are going to start to wonder, how come we got good information about jobs, but then why is the unemployment number changing? Right.
Exactly. I mean, I'm
How come?
I'm
Yeah.
not a advisor, I'm just average, Jack or Jill here, well, Jill specifically, but it just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense, and it doesn't match the feeling when you head out to the grocery store and other things when you see price tags. I mean, there was wage growth too, by the way, but it's still well below inflation.
Yeah, so I think the main thing is for people to stay informed. So if they can find a way to, they don't need to understand all the mechanics. What about inflation? What about the jobs numbers? Hey, this information seems good, sounds good, feels good, but why is the my portfolio at the market maybe not responding in the same way? And so the
Right.
reality, I think, is just we are pretty confident at this point in time that we're heading into recession. But the economy is really hot right now, which is why we're getting these great jobs numbers.
So do you
That
think
is
that means the
not
Fed
likely to.
Uh,
Yeah, it's not
See,
that the Fed isn't likely to go, hey, you know what? I think we've raised interest rates enough. It's time for us to dial it back because more jobs, more people working, more people spending, more of this, more of that is not a good way to bring inflation down. That's not how it works. So they have to get people to spend less. And the way they get people to spend less is to tighten the money supply. Tighten the money supply means they raise interest rates so that fewer people are willing to spend more money. Now, we've seen it in housing. So
mm,
real estate is not doing great right now, depending on where you are in the country, because
especially
if you got to pay
commercial
six,
real
7, or 8%, yeah, commercial too. Well, that's part of the COVID thing. But if you got to spend 6 or 7 or 8% to borrow money to get a home versus 3 or 4% to borrow money to get a home, it's going to slow that down. So as all of this trickles through, I think we'll see the Fed continue to raise interest rates because it doesn't seem to be slowing down fast enough. And as we see the Fed raise interest rates, that's likely to impact markets negatively. So, take it for what it's worth, but that's probably not good for a portfolio.
Well, but the good news is, I'm just sitting here thinking, in 2 years, we get to hear these jokers in DC argue about the debt ceiling again. I mean, that's exciting for me. I don't know about you, but I'm gonna tailgate for that.
And they'll fix it again. It's just a
They'll
question of, how.
Because I've been
Yeah.
asking you for some time, what's gonna happen because if they come to an impasse, that could affect our portfolios, and you kept going, "Oh, come on." Nobody in their right mind is gonna let America's credit rating go down and let people go unpaid, and you were
Well,
right.
other countries also don't want it to go down. Maybe China wants to go down, but other
Right.
countries need us to stay strong. Yeah. So no, you're right,
So
Kristen. It's unlikely that the world, I'd say not even unlikely. I mean, the world needs the U.S. to be a strong economy. Otherwise, the rest of the world suffers too. But it is frustrating. People are frustrated by it. No matter what side of the aisle are on politically, it probably feels like a loss, right? So conservatives didn't get everything they wanted. Um, uh, Liberals and Democrats didn't get everything they wanted. But that's what's called compromise, and we're
kinda reminds
moving
me of
forward. So
marriage a
that's
little
good.
bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
All
There
about
you
the
go.
compromise. I wanna bring up something very key that at Talon Wealth and the whole point of guarding your nest egg is that you have, for over 2 decades, been focusing on helping people with their finances, and as a fee-based fiduciary, you're the founder of Talon Wealth, but focusing specifically on soon-to-be and current retirees. And this topic, inflation, interest rates, the debt ceiling, now that we know where we stand, how does it affect them? And then we'll let everybody get back to their day.
Well, I'd say right now, so far, it affects them in the moment today, again, depending on when somebody's viewing us, but in the moment today, it's somewhat indirectly. You might look at the market and the market liked the news. We've got a deal on the debt ceiling, and we've got a deal when it comes to not so much a deal, but we've got good jobs numbers. It's going to take maybe a few days, a couple weeks for this to settle in. But the reality is, we spent too much money over a very short period of time to sort of, save the world from COVID,
Phew.
what have you. And that money's got to come from somewhere. We literally printed it out of thin air. And it's nice that the economy is doing well, but you could argue that the economy is doing well because they just pumped tons of money into it. The big question everybody should have on their mind is what happens when that money runs out and the government isn't willing to print more? What's actually going to happen to the economy? And we're very interested in that. And again, that's what I think most people should be focused on.
And that's why you actively manage portfolios along with the rest of the team at Talon Wealth to stay ahead of issues like this for Talon's clients.
Agreed. On a daily basis, we don't like the hang in there approach. I don't know how you hang in there
Not at all.
if you're retired or close to it. Yeah.
Well, before we wrap on this episode, I did see again there was some wage growth. I'm going to ask for some wage growth so that on our next episode, I can afford to buy some lipstick. I'm just kidding. I can afford lipstick. But I just realized I
If you
should have
do
warned
that,
you.
those little there'll be a cardboard cutout of you. and then I'll
Oh,
just do all the talking.
yeah. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
And guardingyournestegg.com is always a great way that you can interact with us if you've got questions you'd like us to address here on our YouTube channel. We're happy to do it. And you can also get in touch with Mike and the rest of the team. And we'll see you next week.